a direct appeal from Montecito has reportedly reached the Prince of Wales. According to sources close to the palace, Prince Harry is seeking a pathway back to the United Kingdom following sustained criticism of his recent $10 million Australian engagement. We examine why Prince William has not responded and why the institution may no longer accommodate the request. Loyalty has always been the defining currency within royal institutions. But when that loyalty is tested by public controversy and conflicting commercial interests, the architecture of the family itself begins to shift. Consider the situation. A younger son of the king, once positioned as a working member of the royal household, now reportedly seeking re-entry after a series of highly lucrative appearances that drew widespread condemnation. The venture in question was valued at approximately $10 million. The institutional response has been silence. The images and press coverage emerging from Australia revealed a tension that palace officials had anticipated but could not contain. What had been presented as a tour of public engagement was rapidly reframed by both the Australian press and segments of the British media as a commercially driven venture. The perception took hold quickly. This was not royal duty. It was celebrity monetization. The backlash was immediate and geographically widespread. From editorial desks in Sydney to commentary panels in London, the assessment converged. The credibility gap between royal service and personal profit had widened beyond repair. According to sources familiar with internal palace communications, the aftermath of this $10 million engagement has triggered a series of private appeals from the Duke of Sussex. These appeals are understood to have been directed primarily at Prince William. The substance of these communications has not been made public, but the silence from Adelaide Cottage and Kensington Palace speaks to the institutional stance that has now hardened. Prince William, as the heir to the throne, is reportedly maintaining what insiders describe as an immovable position. For the Prince of Wales, this is not a matter of personal grievance. It is a question of institutional integrity. The monarchy functions on the principle that service to the crown and the people must be separated from commercial gain. When that separation is compromised, the legitimacy of the institution is placed at risk. For those who have followed the constitutional monarchy across decades, the principle is clear. The royal family survives on duty, not deals. The moment a member of the family is perceived to be leveraging their position for private financial benefit, the entire framework begins to destabilize. Tonight we analyze the strategic calculations behind Prince William's position. We examine the private communications that have allegedly been sent across the Atlantic, the institutional protocols that prevent a return to working royal status, and why the Australian controversy has created a barrier that may now be permanent. Prince Harry is reportedly seeking reconciliation, but the question is whether the institution he left behind is still willing or able to accommodate him. The contemporary media landscape often conflates visibility with legitimacy, but for the British royal family, legitimacy is derived from one source alone: institutional service that is seen to be free from personal financial interest. This principle is why the recent events in Australia have generated such significant institutional concern. What was marketed publicly as a tour of engagement was, according to multiple reports, accompanied by a financial arrangement estimated at $10 million. To those familiar with the protocol governing royal appearances, the structure of this arrangement raised immediate questions. According to sources close to the palace, the internal reaction was one of controlled but deep concern. One senior aide is reported to have described the tour as a commercial undertaking presented under the guise of public duty. The phrase cash grab began to circulate not only in tabloid coverage, but in serious editorial commentary across major outlets in both the United Kingdom and Australia. The issue is not simply the sum involved. It is the precedent. The British royal family operates under an unwritten but strictly observed rule. You cannot simultaneously claim the protections and prestige of the crown while engaging in private commercial transactions that exploit that same status. The optics were, by any measure, damaging. While Prince William and Princess Catherine have concentrated their efforts on long-term charitable partnerships and state-supported engagements, the Australian venture appeared to prioritise media control and exclusive commercial agreements. For a generation raised on the principle of selfless public service, The sight of a prince of the blood, reportedly receiving $10 million for public appearances, felt like a fundamental misalignment with the values the institution is meant to embody. Insiders suggest that King Charles himself was troubled by the commercial framing of the trip. The king has consistently articulated a vision for a streamlined monarchy, one built on public service, not celebrity capital. When reports reached London that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex had allegedly imposed specific luxury accommodation requirements and sought to control media access with contractual precision, comparisons to the abdication crisis of 1936 became unavoidable. Just as King Edward VIII prioritized personal desire over constitutional duty, Prince Harry is now perceived within palace circles as having prioritized financial independence over institutional loyalty. But the reaction extends beyond the financial dimension. The timing of the Australian engagement compounded the damage. At a moment when the royal family is navigating significant health challenges within its senior ranks, the perception of a $10 million commercial venture was seen by many as tone-deaf at best. The Australian public, known for their directness, did not withhold criticism. While protests were limited in scale, they were vocal. The press coverage was unsparing. What emerged was a narrative of a couple who had publicly sought privacy, yet were willing to attach a $10 million price to their presence. This contradiction has created a credibility deficit that Prince Harry is now reportedly attempting to address. The realization appears to have taken hold. Without the institutional authority of the monarchy, the commercial viability of the Sussex brand begins to erode. You can monetize royal association only so many times before the public begins to disengage. The $10 million arrangement may have provided short-term financial relief, but it has exhausted much of the goodwill that remained. And as the financial demands of their California lifestyle become more apparent, the urgency of a royal reset has reportedly intensified. Prince Harry is said to be coming to terms with a harsh reality. $10 million is a substantial sum, but it cannot restore the institutional legitimacy he relinquished when he stepped back from working royal duties. There is a particular kind of institutional silence that often precedes major decisions within royal households. A silence that is deliberate, strategic, and final. For months, that silence has been the defining feature of the palace's response to a series of private communications reportedly sent from Montecito to London. As the fallout from the $10 million Australian engagement continued to build, sources within the palace's inner circle have indicated that a formal appeal was drafted by Prince Harry himself addressed directly to his brother, Prince William. This was not a public statement. It was not intended for media consumption. According to those familiar with its contents, it was a private attempt to negotiate the terms of a return to the royal fold. But the substance of this appeal has reportedly deepened the rift rather than bridged it. The document was not simply an expression of regret. It allegedly contained a series of conditions, a proposed framework for re-engagement that would allow Prince Harry to serve the king while maintaining his commercial interests in the United States. For Prince William, a man who has committed himself fully to the service of the crown and the protection of the institution, the proposal was reportedly received with deep frustration. Imagine the situation from his perspective. A brother who spent years publicly criticizing the family in broadcast interviews and published memoirs, now seeking to return on terms that would allow him to continue profiting from that same royal status. For those familiar with institutional protocol, the proposal was a non-starter. The monarchy does not operate on hybrid models. You are either a working member of the royal household, bound by duty and protocol, or you are a private citizen. There is no intermediate category, but the desperation in Prince Harry's tone was, according to insiders, unmistakable. The appeal reportedly hinted at the mounting pressure he is facing, financial, reputational, and personal. The $10 million Australian engagement was meant to demonstrate viability. Instead, it became a point of public and institutional rejection. Prince Harry is said to be recognizing that without the formal endorsement of the palace, the Sussex brand is losing its foundation. He is a prince without portfolio, a public figure without institutional backing, and increasingly a brother without familial access. The appeal allegedly included a request for temporary residence on the Windsor estate, a secure location where his children could connect with their heritage. On its face, the request appears personal and understandable. To Prince William, however, it reportedly raised concerns about media management and future disclosures. The Prince of Wales is said to be acutely aware that previous gestures of goodwill have been followed by public commentary, book chapters, or documentary segments. Trust, once broken repeatedly, is not easily restored. The most striking element of this private appeal, according to sources, was Prince Harry's request for third-party mediation, a proposal that Prince William is said to have viewed as a breakdown in the possibility of direct familial communication. It was as though reconciliation was being treated as a contractual negotiation rather than a restoration of trust between brothers. This detail, more than any other, is said to have illustrated the distance between them. Prince William reportedly seeks loyalty. Prince Harry, according to insiders, seeks terms, but the appeal allegedly contained one final element of reference to actions Prince Harry will be forced to consider if his request for a United Kingdom return was refused. What those actions might entail has not been disclosed, but the implication was clear enough to register as a form of pressure. The response from Prince William was not a letter. It was not a phone call. It was silence. For the Prince of Wales, the time for negotiation appears to have ended. He is no longer simply a brother navigating a personal relationship. He is the future king, responsible for the integrity and continuity of the institution. And in that role, there is currently no mechanism to accommodate a brother who places financial agreements above institutional duty. Prince Harry is reportedly seeking a pathway home, but he is seeking it from a man who is determined that some doors, once closed, must remain that way for the protection of the crown itself. To understand Prince William's position, one must move beyond the framework of sibling dynamics and assess his role as the heir to the throne. For the Prince of Wales, the choice between his brother and the institution is not a choice at all. It is a constitutional responsibility. Prince William has adopted what insiders describe as an unyielding stance. For those who have observed the monarchy across decades through the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, and the long reign of Queen Elizabeth II, it is clear that institutional survival depends on one principle: consistency of duty. The $10 million Australian controversy was not, in Prince William's view, simply another media cycle. It was a structural threat. Sources close to the Prince of Wales suggest he views Prince Harry's recent commercial activities as a direct challenge to the political neutrality and public credibility of the royal family. When a member of the royal family becomes a brand available for hire, it establishes a dangerous precedent. Prince William's concern is both immediate and constitutional. If the public begins to perceive royals as celebrities negotiating their services to the highest bidder, the legitimacy of the constitutional monarchy itself is placed at risk. For Prince William, allowing Prince Harry to return after such a visible commercial engagement would send a signal to the world that the crown can be leveraged, monetized, or negotiated whenever financial need arises. This is the institutional discipline that Prince William is now enforcing. He is no longer the grieving son walking behind a coffin. He is the protector of a legacy that spans more than 1,000 years. Insiders reveal that Prince William has privately communicated to close advisors that trust is not something that can be restored through appeals or apologies alone. It has been fractured across multiple public disclosures. Every time an opportunity for reconciliation has been extended, it has been followed by further public commentary, often monetized. For Prince William, the risk of re-engagement is not simply personal, it is existential. He is also shielding his own household. Princess Catherine is navigating her own path to recovery, and the priority for the Prince of Wales is to maintain a stable, focused environment for the king and for the next generation of the monarchy. In the eyes of the British establishment, Prince William is acting with a maturity that reflects his training and his understanding of constitutional responsibility. While Prince Harry is perceived to be pursuing short-term financial solutions, Prince William is focused on long-term institutional stability. He understands that the public's patience is limited. The people of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth are facing their own economic challenges. The sight of a prince seeking re-entry after a $10 million engagement in Australia is seen by many as disconnected from the realities they face daily. Prince William is reported to believe that any attempt to forgive without a sustained public demonstration of renewed loyalty would alienate the very people the monarchy exists to serve. There is also the matter of the king's vision. King Charles has articulated a clear intent to streamline the royal family to focus resources and public roles on a smaller, more committed group of working royals. Prince Harry's proposed hybrid arrangement, reportedly referenced in his private appeal, runs directly counter to that vision. Prince William views it as a compromise that would lead to internal instability, ongoing leaks, and perpetual negotiation. For the Prince of Wales, a clean institutional boundary is preferable to a compromised reintegration. The political risk for Prince William is also personal. If he were to soften his position and trust were broken again, it would be his judgment and his leadership that would be questioned. As a future sovereign, he cannot afford to be perceived as unable to enforce institutional discipline. He is choosing the institution over sentiment. It is a lesson he learned directly from Queen Elizabeth II, who consistently placed the crown above personal preference. The silence from Adelaide Cottage and Kensington Palace is deliberate and unambiguous. It communicates that the door is not simply closed, it is structurally unavailable. Prince Harry may be seeking reconciliation. He may be deploying every available public relations resource to position himself as a figure seeking to return. But Prince William is not looking for gestures. He is looking for institutional loyalty. And until Prince Harry can demonstrate that he values service above commercial opportunity, Prince William's position will remain unchanged. This is the new reality of the House of Windsor, a future king who understands that some relationships must be maintained at a distance in order to protect the institution they both inherited. To many observers, $10 million represents a life-changing sum, a figure that should provide long-term security and financial freedom. But for a couple maintaining a high-profile lifestyle in one of the most expensive residential areas in the United States, the financial calculus is significantly different. For those who have managed household finances across decades, the principle is familiar. What matters is not income alone, but sustainability. And for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, the rate at which expenses accumulate is reportedly severe. Industry analysts estimate that the annual cost of private security for the Sussex family ranges between $2 million and $3 million. This is a non-negotiable expense for individuals who have lived their entire lives under protective detail. Add to that the mortgage obligations on their $14 million Montecito estate, property taxes that reach into the hundreds of thousands annually, and a full household staff including private assistants, legal advisors, publicists, and domestic personnel. When the numbers are calculated, the $10 million from the Australian engagement begins to appear less like a long-term solution and more like a temporary measure to cover ongoing liabilities. This is the financial reality that is reportedly driving Prince Harry's urgency. For a man who grew up in a system where financial concerns were managed by the sovereign grant and the Duchy of Cornwall, the transition to self-funded celebrity has been a structural adjustment. The Netflix and Spotify agreements that once appeared to guarantee ongoing revenue are either nearing expiration or being re-evaluated for their actual return on investment. The Australian engagement was a clear indicator of a couple searching for new income streams as previous arrangements begin to plateau or conclude. But the central challenge remains. To maintain their current profile and lifestyle, they require the royal connection. Without the oxygen of institutional association, their commercial value declines. Corporate sponsors are not investing in Harry, the private citizen. They are investing in the prince. As the institutional distance between Prince Harry and the crown increases, so does the risk that his brand will lose market relevance. For those familiar with long-term financial planning, the current Sussex trajectory appears increasingly fragile. Insiders suggest that the financial pressure has intensified the operational demands in Montecito. The constant need to produce content, maintain media presence, and defend public perception is both exhausting and expensive. The private appeal to Prince William was not solely about familial reconciliation. It was, according to sources, driven in part by financial necessity. A return to the United Kingdom, even in a limited capacity, would potentially restore access to state-funded security and institutional legitimacy that no commercial contract can replace. Prince William is reported to be fully aware of this financial dimension. He understands that his brother is operating under significant pressure. The Prince of Wales is said to be employing a strategy of deliberate patience. He recognizes that the Sussex brand is built largely on public grievance. Once those grievances have been exhausted as content, the foundation begins to erode. By refusing to engage, Prince William is allowing the structural financial pressures to take their course. For audiences who value fiscal responsibility and long-term planning, the Sussex situation often evokes both sympathy and frustration. Here is a man who inherited guaranteed security and institutional support, and who chose to trade it for a volatile market where value is determined by the latest headline. The $10 million from Australia may have addressed immediate obligations, but it has not resolved the underlying structural problem. Prince Harry has exchanged his institutional position for a revenue model that is neither stable nor sustainable. As expenses continue to accumulate and public interest begins to decline, the private appeals are likely to become more frequent and more visible. Prince Harry is reportedly coming to terms with a reality he did not anticipate. Independence in California is far more expensive and far more uncertain than life within the institutional framework he left behind. The financial reckoning has arrived, and for the Duke of Sussex, the cost of autonomy may be higher than he calculated. In the institutional life of the British monarchy, there are two sources of legitimacy that must be maintained: the approval of the sovereign and the support of the public. While Prince Harry has been drafting private appeals to his brother, the British public has already delivered its judgment. For those familiar with the mechanics of public opinion and institutional leadership, the principle is clear. A monarchy survives only as long as it retains the confidence of the people it serves. Recent polling conducted by established research organizations, including YouGov, reveals a significant decline in public support for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Their favorability ratings have reached historic lows, with more than 65% of respondents in recent surveys expressing opposition to Prince Harry returning to official royal duties. This is the public barrier that Prince William is navigating. He's not simply being inflexible as a brother. He's responding to a clear mandate from the electorate. For Prince William, the data is unambiguous. Reinstating Prince Harry after the $10 million Australian engagement and after years of public criticism of the institution would be perceived by a substantial majority of the British public as a betrayal of their trust. Public sentiment in the United Kingdom has shifted across a recognizable arc, from sympathy to fatigue to a desire for closure. The public is facing its own economic pressures. There is limited patience for a prince who criticizes the institution from a private estate in California, while reportedly securing $10 million for a series of public appearances in Australia. But even if Prince William were personally inclined to reconcile, he is constrained by something more powerful than sentiment: royal protocol. This is the unwritten but rigidly enforced code that has governed the House of Windsor for generations. The concept of a part-time royal someone who serves the crown selectively while maintaining independent commercial interests is a direct violation of this protocol. The rule is binary. You are either a working member of the royal household, dedicated entirely to the service of the crown and the people, or you are a private citizen. There is no hybrid category. According to senior palace officials, the protocol exists precisely to prevent what occurred in Australia: the commercialization of royal status. If Prince Harry were permitted to represent the king while simultaneously entering into private financial agreements, it would create an irreparable conflict of interest. It would effectively transform the monarchy into a transactional enterprise. For those who value institutional consistency and the rule of law, the principle is clear. Once exceptions are made for one individual, the entire system begins to collapse. Prince William understands that the hybrid model Prince Harry is reportedly seeking would set a precedent that could eventually destabilize the institution itself. Furthermore, the protocol governing security and official status is a legal and administrative challenge. Since Prince Harry stepped down as a working royal, his entitlement to state-funded security was removed. Reinstating that protection for a non-working member of the family would require a legal and political negotiation with the Home Office that the palace is unwilling to undertake. The rules are explicit. The benefits of the monarchy are reserved for those who carry the full weight of its responsibilities. Prince Harry chose to step back from those responsibilities. He cannot now retain the privileges while avoiding the obligations. Insiders suggest that Prince William has used these protocols as both a shield and a framework. He does not need to engage in personal debate. He simply needs to refer to the institutional rules that govern the family. Queen Elizabeth II famously said, "I have to be seen to be believed." But she also operated under the principle that you cannot selectively claim royal status private when it is convenient, public when it is profitable. This is the lesson Prince Harry appears to have overlooked, and it is the one Prince William is now enforcing with institutional discipline. The public reaction in Australia was the final confirmation. It demonstrated to the palace that the Sussex brand is now viewed through a commercial lens on a global scale. When Prince Harry enters a room, the perception is no longer that of a son of the king. It is that of a figure who recently secured $10 million for a controversial engagement. That shift in public perception is, for all practical purposes, irreversible. Prince William understands that his own credibility and the future of his children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, depends on maintaining clear institutional boundaries. He cannot allow the instability surrounding his brother to compromise the next generation of the monarchy. By adhering to protocol and respecting the public's clearly expressed position, Prince William is positioning himself as the stable, reliable counterpoint to his brother's volatility. Prince Harry is seeking a return to a framework that no longer exists for him. The rules have not changed. The public has moved forward, and the gatekeeper is a brother who understands that in the architecture of constitutional monarchy, there is no room for those who seek to rewrite the rules for personal benefit. We arrive now at the final question. Is there a viable pathway back for the Duke of Sussex? In the clear assessment of institutional realities, after the $10 million Australian controversy and the sustained pattern of public disclosures, the answer appears to be no, at least, not in the form Prince Harry is seeking. For those who have lived through enough institutional history to understand that actions carry permanent consequences, the principle is familiar. Some doors, once closed, develop a structural barrier that no amount of appeal can remove. The future for Prince Harry appears increasingly to be one of permanent separation from working royal life. He is discovering that the autonomy he sought in California carries a cost that exceeds any media contract or commercial engagement. He traded the protection of a centuries-old institution for the volatility of celebrity-driven income. And as the $10 million Australian backlash demonstrated, the public is beginning to see through the positioning. Prince William has made his decision. He is prioritizing the stability and integrity of the British monarchy over the unpredictability of his brother's current path. For Prince William, the conclusion is institutional. Loyalty to the crown and duty to the public must come before familial sentiment. He is not simply being difficult as a brother. He is being decisive as a future sovereign, but we want to hear your perspective. Has Prince Harry crossed a line that cannot be reversed? Or do you believe that family reconciliation should always take precedence, regardless of institutional cost? This is a conversation that touches on the values of loyalty, duty, and accountability that we all navigate in our own lives. Please leave a comment below. We read every response and value the insight this community brings. And if you found this analysis useful, please subscribe to the channel. We are committed to bringing you informed, in-depth coverage of the royal family with the seriousness and respect the institution deserves. Don't forget to enable notifications so you never miss an update. The story of Prince Harry and Prince William is no longer simply a family matter. It is a case study in the cost of celebrity versus the value of institutional service. As this chapter closes, one conclusion is clear. The crown moves forward with or without those who choose to leave it behind. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next analysis.